A warm welcome to you all. Students, so far in our history class, we have seen that the British came to India as traders. But in due course of time, they started ruling over our country. Their rule affected almost all the communities of India. Today, in our history lesson, namely tribals, Bhikkhus, and the vision of a golden age, we are going to see how the British rule affected tribals. Well, who are these tribals? Yes, tribals are group of people who live and work together in certain geographical areas. In order to know how the British rule affected the tribals in India, we have to know about the lifestyle of tribals in India. That is, we have to know how tribals were living in India. Tribes had their own customs and traditions. They believed that they were tied with kinship bond. Now, what is this kinship bond? Yes, kinship means blood relationship. They used to strongly believe that they are connected to each other with blood relationship. These tribes never followed the caste system laid down by Brahmins. That is, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. However, this did not mean that there were no social and economic differences within tribes. That means within a tribe there were some people who were rich, who were chiefs or leaders. In other words, we can say that there was some sort of caste system, but that caste system was different from the caste system laid down by Brahmins. Now, let us see how these tribal groups lived. That is, how they earned their livelihood, or what did they do to survive. By the 19th century, tribal people in different parts of India were involved in a variety of activities. Take for example, first, some were jhum cultivators, or it was also known as shifting cultivation. Now, what is this shifting cultivation? As the term suggests, tribals were clearing the part of forest. Specially, they used to cut tree tops so that the sunlight reaches the ground. The ground was covered with bushes and vegetation. Tribal people burned these bushes and vegetations, and finally they got ash. This ash is rich in potash, which makes the soil fertile. Tribals used a hoe to spread the soil and scattered seeds. These seeds in turn gave them a sufficient harvest. After the harvest, tribes moved to another piece of land, leaving this land fallow, that is uncultivated. Students, if you go on cultivating the land again and again, then there is a possibility that land may completely lose its fertility. But if you keep that land uncultivated for 1 year, then the soil manages to get its fertility back. These shifting cultivators were found in the hilly and forested tract of northeast and central India. So students, our first point was some tribal people were involved in jhum cultivation or shifting cultivation. Let us move on to our second point, that is, some tribal societies were hunters and gatherers. I am sure that you all know who are hunters. Yes, hunters means those who kill animals, especially for their food. These people were involved in collective hunting and then they divided the meat among themselves. These societies were involved in hunting and gathering. That means these people used to gather forest produce like fruits, roots, honey, etc. Here we can take the examples of the Konn community who lived in the forest of Orissa. Since they lived in the deep forest, they were aware of various forest shrubs and herbs which were used for medicinal purpose. They also made best use of a mawa plant. The fruits as well as the flowers of these mawa plants help these tribal people to earn their livelihood. Take for example, in the summer season, we Goans make the best use of cashew trees. Some of us as Goans survive on the earnings made with the help of these cashew trees. So also the tribals in Orissa and Jharkhand, they also survive on the earnings made with the help of mawa plants. These tribal people who practiced hunting and gathering were also in need of some other commodities or things. For example, rice, pots, clothes, etc. From where did they manage to get all these things? Yes, for all these things they were dependent on the neighboring villages. That means they used to go to these neighboring villages with their forest produce and exchange their produce for other necessary goods. In villages, there lived local weavers and leather workers. In order to color their clothes and leather, they wanted kusum and palash flowers from the forest. These flowers were supplied to them by the tribes. Sometimes the forest produce was not sufficient for them, and in this situation, tribes used to go to the villages looking out for different kinds of jobs, especially as laborers or workers in the fields or carrying loads or building roads, etc. But many of them, like Baigas of central India, were reluctant to do work for others. The Baigas saw themselves as people of the forest who could only live on the produce of the forest. It was below the dignity of a Baiga to become a laborer. In short, we can say that these Baigas were ready to die out of hunger than to work as a laborer for someone. These hunters and gatherers were also dependent on traders and moneylenders. Since tribal people were uneducated, these traders and moneylenders cheated them. They used to give them money, but at a higher rate of interest. This particular action of traders and moneylenders forced tribal people to live their life in debt and poverty. Therefore, these tribal people used to call these moneylenders and traders as evil outsiders and the cause of their misery. Students, so far we have seen two types of activities in which tribal people were involved. First one, shifting cultivation, and the second one is hunting and gathering. Now let us see the third activity of the tribals in India. That is, some tribals herded animals. Students, I am sure that you are aware of some animals which live in herds. Like for example, cows, goats, sheep, etc. Some tribes reared or took care of these animals. They were pastoralites, means they moved with their herds of cattle or sheep according to the season. They moved in search of a better pasture land for their herds. And the fourth tribal activity was settled cultivation. As the name suggests, many tribes were settled down in one particular area. They were practicing agriculture in that area. They began to use the plough and gradually got rights over the land they lived on. In many cases, like the Mundas of Chota Nagpur, the land belonged to the clan or a group as a whole. All members of the clan were regarded as descendants of the original settlers who had first cleared the land. Therefore, all of them had rights on the land. Very often, some people within the clan acquired more power than others. Some became chiefs and others followers. Now tell me, what is the meaning of a chief? Yes, a chief means a leader. Maybe he had acquired more power, more wealth, and that's how he became the chief or the leader of that particular clan or group. And all the other people in that particular clan became the followers of that particular chief or a leader. In this particular settled tribal clan, there were some rich men who lended their land for cultivation. That means they were not cultivating their land on their own, but they were getting it cultivated from their workers or laborers. Students, among all these tribal groups which we have studied right from the beginning, British officials saw these settled cultivators as more civilized because they were settled in one place, and thus it became easy for the British to handle them or to collect revenue from them. Students, in our today's class, we have seen the various activities in which tribal people were involved. In our next class, we are going to see how the British rule affected all these tribal people. See you then in the next class. Till then, goodbye. God bless you.